Now the podcast has officially started.
Okay, good.
Sorry about that.
It's all good.
Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you.
Been an admirer and follower of your work so far. So
thank you. I've been an admirer and follower of your work too.
Thank you.
Going on your trips and
thanks.
Going on your little vacations. Tell me about that. So you've been in Vietnam for almost like 4 months now, right?
Gosh, I was in Southeast Asia sort of as a whole. So there's this popular backpacking trail that people take called the Banana Pancake Trail, which essentially you start in Thailand and then you go through Cambodia into Vietnam.
Wow.
So I did that, and I also went to Bali while I was there because.
And what's the duration of this whole time?
It's most of the summer. So I left beginning of June and I came back last week. So mid-August. Did
you feel like it was enough time?
Yes.
Yes.
You know, when you're traveling and you're backpacking, you meet a lot of people out there that are traveling for massive periods of time. In my first 2 days there, I met a guy that was like my age that was traveling for 4 years and was planning on traveling for more years and had an entire decade of traveling planned out.
And who's funding it? Is he just getting odd jobs or something?
He's like, yeah, working at hostels and just getting odd jobs. A lot of the time it's illegal work because you need working visas in a lot of places. But it was sort of just getting by. But yeah, 3 months is definitely enough for what I wanted. I wanted a nice big trip, but when you're traveling, you're a human being. You get homesick and you kind of get a little sick of having to pack your stuff up and move to a new place every 2 days. So it was good, man. It was a great period of time.
Is that what it was? You were in Thailand for 2 days, or were you in a specific part of Thailand for 2 days?
Yeah, so it's tough, right? So as Canadians, it's very expensive to fly out to that part of the world. So when you get there, you have this mindset of wanting to milk as much out of your experience as possible. You want to see as much as possible and do as much as possible. But what that means is, if you're in, for example, Vietnam, you want to see every city that you can. You want to go on every experience you can. So very, very little time for sitting around and not really doing anything. Which is something I was actually talking about not long ago. It's unrealistic because, when you're planning a trip, and especially a big trip by yourself, you tend to forget you're a human person that sometimes just needs to take a day off and stuff. And, you plan out 3 months of machine gun pacing and then come to realize a few weeks in, I need a day, just to not do anything. And based on the way you've planned it, it's hard to get that for sure.
Wait, when you're planning it, do you plan it so you've been planning this trip how much in advance?
Gosh, I mean, it differs for all people, obviously.
Were you doing every day I will do this,
day
by day?
Not exactly. I had
filled up.
I had a small itinerary.
Okay.
I did a lot of research. I started researching this trip 6 months before my flight, and
wow.
There were a lot of reasons behind that. I think first of all, I had graduated from school and I was working a job, which I guess we'll talk about later, that did not require a lot of work at that point. So I had a lot of free time and I was so excited about this trip. It's something I'd wanted to do my whole life. So what else am I going to do other than do research? And the researching lasted a very long time. And I'm grateful I did it, but there were people that were there that literally just yeah, I got a ticket and just went out.
Yeah. They've
been traveling effortlessly and seeing all the same things as me that did not require months of work. So yeah. So everyone's different. For me, I think I was just very excited. So that's kind of where my mind went.
Were you just okay, now I'm done university, I want to go travel the world? Before I get into the I don't know if you're gonna get into the 9 to 5 or whatever you're gonna start whatever. We'll talk about that later. But you wanted that.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think I have a bit of a travel bug. I love traveling, and a lot of the sort of enlivening qualities and energizing qualities of traveling are just they're intoxicating to me. Meeting people every day and seeing new things and experiencing new cultures, eating new food, and just being in an environment that you've never experienced before. There's really nothing like it other than, just going out and seeing, traveling. And I got to a point in my life where obviously the pandemic hit and I was at the beginning of a degree and I completed my university degree through Zoom. And that whole time.
Wait, you started your degree in 2020?
I started my degree in 2019 or 2018.
Okay.
So I had about a year of like in-person classes, but half of it was an exchange. And
yeah.
But then, pandemic hit, and then I completed my degree online, which was 2 years. And I feel like people are going to be talking about what, the university / high school experience online has actually sort of done, like the quality of education that I got, but also the lack of socialization for, younger people.
They robbed you. Fauci robbed you.
Fauci robbed me. Yeah. Me personally.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, you're not getting out of your house unless you get this little shot.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, I'll give him credit. I mean, I like being able to be in my pajamas and take a class and sort of just turn
Honestly,
the camera
remember
on,
everyone was like, the earth is healing. The earth is healing. And everyone was just like, do you hear
Venice
that?
saw dolphins yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. The dolphins are coming back. Everything is becoming fine.
Let's just stay like this.
Yeah. Honestly,
give
I don't want to work. Yeah,
dolphins.
that's like remote work now, though. It's going crazy. People like like you, they want to go to Vietnam, and they're like, I want to do this online, like this work stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I did remote work, and there's a lot of benefits to it for sure.
You did remote work while you were in Vietnam?
No, not while I was in Vietnam.
Oh, okay.
Well, right before then, I had done remote work, and a lot of good. I think it works for certain personality types, but for myself, I'm definitely more productive when I'm with people in person and not in an office and in an office environment. So pros and cons. Like you
pros and cons.
Get
pros
up and
cons.
travel, but maybe your work won't be as good. So
100%. So okay, you go to Thailand, Cambodia, all these places. And like, what were you looking? Were you trying to like soul search or something? Or
my white boy spiritual trip?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You just want to find yourself,
So it's tough because
just bring the mic a little closer to you.
Yeah, it's tough because I think that would be a way to think about it. I think I wanted to push myself out of my comfort zone. I think there's a lot of things I wanted out of it. Finding myself is not necessarily what my goal was. I think one of the amazing things about traveling, especially for longer periods of time, is it allows you to take a step back from your day-to-day life and your friendships and relationships and family and your work and your dreams and everything, and sort of think about it very macroscopically. And that's what I wanted, and that's exactly what I got. I was able to sort of take a breather from a lot of my life responsibilities and really being able to like reevaluate like what is important to me and what is not, where do I want to go, what are my dreams, that kind of thing. And I think that's an invaluable experience. So did I find myself? No. I don't. I feel like I came back as confused as I was before, as like a early 20s guy, like sort of floating in the ether. But I definitely was able to get a clearer understanding of what my priorities in my life are. Mm-hmm. And that, I guess, could be categorized as finding yourself, right? But I don't know. I feel like it is so cheesy. Like when I come to tell people like, yeah, I went on a 3-month vacation to Southeast Asia. Like the first thing that everyone thinks about is like, oh, this guy was like meditating in a cave and like walking around like handing candy to like orphan kids. Like it's like, yeah, I mean some of that, but like, I don't know. I feel like when you go into a trip with the idea like I'm going to find myself, you're not going to find yourself. Like it's just go into the trip excited for, being in a new environment, and things will change. You're going to come back a different person, whether you like it or not, Mm-hmm. So. And
so when you first came, like I'm just curious, like, was it wild? You know what I mean? Or was it just like kind of like a leisurely trip?
Dude, landing in Bangkok and having my first day in Bangkok was like sensory overload. It was like some guy grabbing me by the shoulders and screaming uncontrollably in my face. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Because it's such a different environment and like everything is different. Like people are eating on the side of a road. Like people are like screaming and everyone's trying to scam you. And I got scammed my first day there.
Oh my God.
That's a story. Yeah, it was just it was so much, but it wasn't like a negative so much. It was just like, oh man, here we go. Like, this is where we start.
Is there like people fucking just like smoking cigarettes in the airport and stuff? Like, is that,
not in the airport.
I think monkeys running around like with their baggage.
I definitely did see monkeys just running around cities.
In the airport?
Was so cool. Nah, in Bangkok.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not in the airport. No, I did not see.
Yeah, the monkeys are like unloading the plane and putting it inside.
Yeah, they have a strict no monkey protocol actually at the airport.
Really?
No, I have probably.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they probably
don't. Like, if you see a monkey, kill him on sight.
I'd assume that they don't don't want that there, but yeah.
Yeah.
My first week there was a lot. It was a lot to take in, and that sort of feeling of a lot never really went away, especially with every country I went to. It definitely took a huge readjustment period, especially because, like, look, living and coming from Montreal and having lived here my whole life, Montreal is, in retrospect, an extremely beautiful, clean, quiet city. I mean, got its flaws, but when you go to Phnom Penh, Cambodia, it is like just litter everywhere. Again, lots of noise, just motorbikes just constantly driving. Chaos always everywhere. The only place to escape from it would be like to go into your hostel room, and even then you're sharing it with 12 people. So,
and they're all fucked up and have like drug problems.
I don't know. I went to a nice hostel there, but I mean, it depends where you're going. If you're
still a bunch of people trying to find themselves, but they find themselves in your bed.
Yeah. Yeah, sort of. Somebody told me a story of he was staying in Siem Reap, Cambodia, which is like where the Angkor Wat temples are.
Yeah.
And he just like woke up in the morning to a British dude just pissing next to his head, just on the ground, just pissing on the ground, and like guy fell asleep on the ground.
Holy shit.
So he's just like, yeah, I mean, sometimes you'll run into those people for sure. So
yeah.
It happens. But what's weird is my culture shock was actually bigger coming back than it was getting there. Because getting there, I kind of knew what I was in for, and I got very accustomed to the environment. Especially, I stayed in Vietnam for like a month, and I got very used to it. And when I came back, I touched down at the Atlanta airport. And I don't know if you've ever been to the Atlanta airport, but it's essentially a food court that happens to have planes landing at it. It is this massive food court, basically.
I think I have, actually. I have.
Fast food everywhere.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I stopped there, I think, to go to Florida.
Yeah, it's a nice airport, but I had forgotten,
the New York French fries things, you know, the pizza, all that stuff.
I had not slept
Chick-fil-A.
in like 48 hours. I walk out like disheveled, wearing my like Thai elephant pants, just like looking homeless, and I just like feast my eyes on this like super brightly lit food court where families are just eating like 3 burgers each. And it was so insane, like the massive
opposite.
lines for Popeyes and stuff. And
it was like the opposite of like where you came from.
Very much the opposite.
They're, like,
and it was also
rats there, and like here they're like fucking
it was
pounding their face with burgers.
It was crazy, man. It's like the food in Southeast Asia generally is like, it's healthy, it's fine, but like it's not perfect. But definitely kind of like looking at, you know, people just pounding themselves with fast food after having gone somewhere where people eat soup 3 times a day was very, very interesting and very shocking. Like I'm half American. I've been to America many times, and this is the first time I really looked at it.
Being half American, do you have like citizenship too?
I do, yeah.
Really?
I got dual citizenship, yeah.
Nice.
I've never really had to use it for anything. I don't even have an American passport, because a Canadian passport is usually better to have than an American. Like, they have the same benefits, so it's like, why?
But you can have both if you want.
Yeah, if I plan to move to America one day, then hell yeah. But right now, it's not on my priority list, so it's just a cool thing to have in like back pocket. But yeah, it was crazy being at that airport and like seeing these like obese guys in wheelchairs with like a Back the Blue shirt, and then a guy next to him like wearing a Hillary Clinton hat, and it was just like very bizarre. And then I came home, and it's like Montreal was like less culture shocked. I'm like, okay, I've been here, like, but I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. I wasn't expecting to be so taken aback. And
by America.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about. Like when.
Well, that's what America is. It's just like fat people.
It's insane. It's crazy.
I mean, the state. I mean, you kind of left during like a crazy summer. I mean, every month, second has been crazy. I mean, especially if you have like TikTok or something. You know, everyone's just on a different planet. I mean, going on a vacation for 3 months, I'm sure like. You kind of cleansed yourself from like social media and like all the distraction. You distracted yourself in real life, basically.
Yeah, I mean, not always. I mean,
actually, you're bullshit. You're posting like 12 stories a day.
That's the thing. I don't I before this, I had not really used Instagram, but I wanted a way to show people what I'm doing that did not involve me personally messaging them a ton of pictures. So I'm like, I guess Instagram is the way to do it, right? So I kind of like slashed all my followers, and I got very small account, and I was literally just like, I just want to show some random people. Like,
what do you mean you slashed your followers?
I just like deleted my main account, and then.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Why?
It wasn't really doing it for me. I think this was initially. I think everybody
you
has
just like follow a bunch of people you don't care about.
Yeah, and it got to the point where I was definitely addicted to Instagram. I think it's very easy to become addicted to something, especially when you're just like mass following things that remotely stimulate your brain.
Yeah.
So I kind of use it as a tool, as like I want to be able to show what I'm doing to
like
people.
An Anthony Bourdain type of thing.
Sure. Yeah, we'll go with that. Just like show what I'm doing to people and be like, this is what I'm eating, this is what I'm doing. That's it.
You're documenting your trip.
Exactly. Basically documenting it. And that was great. But in terms of like, Facebook, I don't even use Facebook or Twitter really. But yeah, definitely stepped away from social media for a while and stepped away from the news for a while.
That's good. That's healthy.
Yeah. So
you weren't there for the whole Andrew Tate phenomenon?
I vaguely know.
Okay.
I know he got banned. I vaguely know who he is, and I know he got banned from stuff.
You're like the only white male who vaguely knows who Andrew Tate is. That's so funny.
Is that a bad thing?
Not really. I mean,
yeah. I feel like an old person being like, wait, who is this character?
It got to the point where like I'd fucking see Andrew Tate more than my dad, bro. Like,
oh my god.
Like every second I would open my phone and he'd be like, "What are you doing with your life?" Like,
Can you give me a 1-sentence summary of this entire thing? so I can catch up.
Like Andrew Tate, what happened with Andrew Tate?
Give me 1 sentence.
Oh my god.
This is a challenge.
This is mean to the viewers, but yeah, okay, 1 sentence. This ex kickboxing champion blew up all over TikTok and Instagram and everything for his wild opinions.
And okay.
Basically.
I didn't know he was a kickboxer. I thought he was like just some guy.
Well, actually, for his wild opinions, like specifically catered to men,
Okay.
Just think of like a jacked, like Jordan Peterson kind of.
I was gonna say, would you liken it to something like Jordan Peterson or?
Yeah, a little bit, but the difference between Jordan Peterson is like, well, it's like, yeah, but it's like, what are you gonna tell me, old man? I mean, no, I'm not trashing Jordan Peterson, but I
mean, you are.
Well, yeah, but I trash everybody. That's the point.
Yeah. Well,
it's
no
like,
judgment.
You have to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But Andrew Tate is like more like this cool guy who's like, oh shit, like this guy's like, he's got a Bugatti and he's got like fast cars and everything. So he's more appealing than like a Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson is more like, I guess you're more mature. Andrew Tate is catered more to young people, I guess, like kids in their, teens and their 20s.
Okay. Interesting.
He's kind of like your reaction to feminism, I guess you could say, like the extreme feminism.
Okay. I feel like he's definitely not the first reaction to.
No, but he's the one that kind of like evolved into like this huge Goliath type of thing.
Interesting. I feel like someone like that is always gonna blow up.
Well, yeah, you can't have like just one side like have controlling the conversation and then not expect the other side to have like some other wild guy. Like, he, by no means like is he a role model to look up to for most people, but he has taken that center stage, and now he's banned, so they're gonna drive more people to him. But anyways, you missed that whole thing. So
I was gonna say I don't remember hearing about
that's your
Andrew Tate in like Cambodia.
I just saved you. I saved you like 100 hours of him talking and stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't want to just Google Andrew Tate because I feel like that.
Chris will tell you about him.
Chris will tell me.
When you see
okay.
Chris Tardy, he's gonna be like, yeah, bro, you gotta check out this guy.
I saw him. He didn't bring it up. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
You're gonna see him. He has like a fucking snake tattoo. Chris, he's like kickboxing.
Tattoo, the like blue shaded sunglasses.
He's like,
like
I don't
the
kick the
blue.
drums anymore. I kick people in the head.
Jesus. Yeah.
So you what was the craziest place you went to, like, and what was like the wildest experience you had?
Oh man.
Like, were you ever like fucking just like you felt like you were like gonna die or someone was gonna kill you or?
Yes.
Yeah, or like getting mugged or like
potentially
raped.
I could tell you. I could break your question down in two. I think there's one unbelievably crazy, wild, positive experience. Yeah. And then one crazy, wild.
Start off with
negative.
your negative, so
okay.
like the positive feels good,
So, just for context, a few pieces of context. First one is Southeast Asia generally, and it per country, obviously it varies, they're very corrupt area, and the governments there are generally very corrupt, and many people are very unhappy. Case in point is Cambodia.
The people aren't happy
with their government.
Okay.
Yeah, with their government. But
are they like ultra right or ultra left? Like, what are they?
I honestly don't know much about their
Cambodia
policies.
Cambodia kind of like a part of Vietnam? Close. It's close to Vietnam.
It's next to Vietnam.
Yeah. So they're not like
Cambodia and Vietnam have
communism kind of thing.
Very rocky history.
Okay.
I'm not an expert on the Cambodian genocide, but I did learn a lot before I went.
Who genocided who?
Oh man, you don't know. I'm smiling not because it's fun. I'm smiling because I like telling people about it. So I was never told about this.
Yeah.
Never ever told about this. And it happened in 1975, which was very recent. And approximately half the country or more was killed by their own government because there was an order in place to basically get rid of all intelligent people. And the word intelligent wasn't just people who were university educated, though that was a lot of people. It ranged from anybody that was remotely wealthy to anybody that wore glasses to everybody who is related to those people.
Oh my God.
So if your dad wore glasses, you would be killed.
This is definitely like communism, right?
Oh yeah, hardcore misinterpreted communism.
Okay. Because China had a similar thing. Like Mao was trying to ban the university professors and the rightists or whatever. He called them the rightists because they were not, following the political ideology.
In reality, it was basically just being anybody they saw as a threat to their government, they eliminated, and they kept only like uneducated people around because they could use them as pawns.
Was it a reaction to the Vietnam War or something? Or
I don't know much about the relationship between the genocide and the Vietnam War, but what ends up happening basically is there's a civil war in Cambodia. The Khmer Rouge take power, and Khmer Rouge is the name, and they led by this guy Pol Pot.
Pol Pot is an Asian guy.
Yeah, Asian dude, educated in France, came back with some very whack ideas and was brought into power.
He's westernized and he's deciding I want to kill
everybody. I mean, a lot of Southeast Asia, Vietnam obviously was colonized by the French, so there's a lot of people, like, for example, Ho Chi Minh was educated in France. So a lot of, highly educated people just went to France because Ho Chi Minh, or rather... Vietnam and Cambodia did not have the infrastructure for university.
Why is it always France? It's always France for some reason.
It's France, England,
the Ayatollah,
Europe, generally.
I know the Khomeini for Iran went there. Kim Jong-un, I think, went to Switzerland. Okay, that's different.
What?
Yeah,
I didn't know.
He's like playing Game Boy. He wore like Adidas.
Sick.
Yeah, he was kind of a cool
Got
kid.
That drip.
But
that
I
Game
guess he
Boy
came
drip.
back and he's like, I'm the god now, and went all crazy.
It's very strange because I feel like they probably don't teach you that when you're like they probably didn't teach Pol Pot anything related to what he ended up doing. But anyway, basically.
No, tu dois manger la baguette et tuer tout le monde.
Yeah. Maybe his French just wasn't very good.
Yeah.
He was misunderstood. It's like, oh, that's what I should do? They're like, what? We didn't tell you that.
Oh, my God.
But okay, I don't want to get too much into the genocide. Basically, people systematically killed. It was horrible. Most people died of starvation because, and this is, you brought up China. China is guilty of a crime that is absolutely massive that basically nobody talks about, which is that they fund...
Hey, this show is funded by the CCP.
All right, sick. You could bleep all of this out. You could just play the theme music as loudly as you can.
If you're listening to this, I have nothing to do with this guy. Okay?
Yeah, it is just play me out or whatever.
No,
abruptly,
okay,
or like do one of those like edits where you kind of have your own voice overlaid over mine. It's like we
love
love China.
Yeah,
they have never. Yeah.
Did
you wait? Okay, side point. Did you hear about that thing with Minions 2, where Minions 2 was released in China and they added a few extra seconds at the end of the movie, being like the main villain was captured and thrown into jail for 30 years by the Chinese government. Yeah, that's actually real. It's crazy.
The Minions did it?
Minions 2.
But wait, is this a China edit they put in?
So in order to be released in China, they insisted on adding to the ending of the movie to say that the villains were thrown into jail.
Oh my God, by the CCP? So it's like they're the heroes. Yay,
yeah.
Well, Steve Carell, I don't know, man. If you had a say in this, then I don't know. I mean, actually, that's good. We like that.
They're making a lot of money in China, so it doesn't matter. Anyway,
well, China kind of owns Hollywood.
Yeah. China very directly funded the genocide. They knew what they were doing.
Surprise,
they knew what was
surprise.
going on. It was a strategy because they knew that they were going to have one of their like adversaries wipe themselves out. So they funded them, and their funding was messed up, obviously, because Cambodia is a very poor country. They're trying to fund an army not just to kill their own citizens, but to also fight anybody that is trying to come into the country and stop them. So they need guns, which they don't have. So China sells them tons of guns in exchange for one of the main natural resources of Cambodia, which is rice and food. Now, when you have all of your rice and food being exported from the country, what happens? Well, your citizens can't eat.
Okay.
And so basically what happened was all the rich people and educated people were killed, and all of the people that were working on farms were turned into labor camps, where everyone from like babies to elderly people were forced to work like 14 to 16-hour work days in the rice fields, being fed what is slightly under livable portions.
Oh my God.
And yeah, that's basically what happened.
It's crazy. It's crazy because China starved its own people too during Mao, and it's funny. Like the only time where they're not being starved is because they're starving another country. You know,
it's messed up, bro.
Yeah.
And they're still paying debts back to China to this day.
Really?
Yeah,
that's what China does, man.
Yeah, they're still paying debts, and a lot of parts of Cambodia are owned by China now. So like Sihanoukville in the south of Cambodia is, I don't know this for a fact, but based on what locals have told me, is completely owned and run by the Chinese mafia. And
triads or the CCP.
I'm not sure. They're
so it's like really nice, probably, right? It's like
it's a beach town. It's a party town, but it's
like new developments, probably.
Yeah, they're basically tearing the whole thing down and building big luxury resorts. Anyway, so you asked me about a negative thing. So the Cambodian government, obviously, Khmer Rouge eventually gets overthrown, and then a new government takes place, and it's the same government, the new government that is there now.
Wait, is this going to relate to you, like, in a life-threatening situation?
No.
Okay.
No. It's more just something very sad that I saw and experienced.
Okay.
It's not a happy story. It's not a happy story. And it has very little to do with me. It was just, basically what happened was, Jared, my friend who I was traveling with, and we were in Siem Reap, which is where all the temples are. And this town is pre-COVID extremely, like 99 to 100% of their economy is tourism, because Angkor Wat is one of the 7 wonders of the world. Pretty much the only reason people go to Siem Reap is for the temples and for the tourism.
That's like the Green Temple kind of thing, right?
It's like these many thousand-year-old Hindu and Buddhist temples,
but it's like very green.
Lara Croft, Indiana Jones type stuff.
Yeah,
it's
there's
massive.
Like a lot of moss and stuff on the temple.
Yeah, we saw trees growing out. Like
yeah.
Like if you ever get a chance to go to Angkor Wat, or any of your viewers do, like you gotta go.
Angkor Wat.
It's crazy.
Angkor Wat.
It's beautiful. It's like ancient as hell. It's such a crazy experience. And
listen, sorry, it's just Angkor Wat is just one of my favorite things in the world. And you know what else is? Stream Studio. Stream Studio is the platform that we're using to create this podcast. It's great. How easy was it to use this?
It was so easy, man.
It was
so easy.
Ridiculously easy.
Just walked in and then bang.
I love Stream.studio. Honestly, that's how I make podcasts, and I definitely recommend it to anybody who's listening to this right now. If it wasn't for Stream Studio, I would not be alive.
You know, I was gonna say, when I tried to start a podcast before the pandemic, I think it was very hard for me to find a platform that worked. So I'm glad you found one.
Okay, well that's it. You should have used Stream Studio. If you had called me, Evan, and I said Stream Studio is the way to go, your podcast might have been bigger than Joe Rogan's right now.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah,
it might have been bigger than that Bigots podcast.
Amazing.
But basically, go ahead today. Go on Stream.studio and get yourself a podcast today. All you gotta do is have an email. That's pretty easy, right? I mean, we have an email. I have an email.
I have an email.
Everyone has an email, right? So you put your email in. They'll send you a code on that email, and then you use that code. You don't even need a password. You just put that code in. Bada bing, bada boom. You can start your own podcast. That's how easy it is. Stream.studio. Go ahead and start your own podcast today. And you could even do it in the temples, which you were in, right? So
yeah, they actually have an ancient podcasting
was that what
room.
was so sad? Yeah, the podcast room didn't have good connection.
Room, yeah, it's gotta be like, so I was talking about Vishnu the other day. And
yeah, you just have like fucking ghosts around you, like, yeah, bro, yeah,
it's
pass
like
the joint.
interviewing the dead spirit of our ancient ancestors.
Yeah,
what's it like out there? It's okay. systems. Anyway, city, Siem Reap, to recap, entirely dependent on tourism because of Angkor Wat.
Okay.
And Cambodia, as well as Vietnam and Thailand, to varying severities, got ravaged by COVID. The governments basically did nothing to help their citizens, especially in the tourism industry. And they were very reluctant about opening back up, tourism back up. The only reason they did it is essentially because the country was running out of money. So like even when I was planning this trip, I was realizing that like I was like, it's impossible to get across certain borders, but by the time I got there, everything was open. And what that meant was the people living in Siem Reap needed new ways to make money. And since obviously Cambodia is a very, it's not like you could just like go on LinkedIn. It's, the environment there is very different. And what it meant was the men in the family mostly got involved in the black market, mostly got involved in drugs. Most cab drivers there, after about 4 or 5 p.m., would pull over at you, would first ask you if you wanted a ride. And then when you said no, under their breath, would be like, marijuana, cocaine, Molly, cigarettes, like just like listing things that they can get access to.
Oh, God.
And we were approached many times a day by these guys offering drugs. And we were talking to a cab driver there he was very candid with us. He was just, we need money. We don't have money and we need money. And only now tourists are coming and it's not enough. So
they need a side hustle.
They need to feed their kids, man. And when you're left with no options, like people are desperate. And another case in point, and this is horrifying, is a lot of the women, especially young girls, got involved in prostitution and the horrible sex tourism industry in Southeast Asia. And so when you're walking down just like regular streets in this town, we'd have girls that could have been no older than like 13.
Oh God. Walking
up to us and being like, come get a massage. And then we were like, no, then like under her breath, she'll just be like, I'll do everything. I'll do like this and that, like multiple times a day. And it's citywide and it's also countrywide in various places. And that.
You want to be smart though. If those girls like were working for like the Myanmar, where was it?
What? Cambodia
DEA or like we got you. It's a sting operation. They
pull out,
like a gun
but here's the thing.
And then the tourists have to fund the economy. But then all the tourists would be like, fuck that, don't go there.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
They're fine with it. And it's horrible to say that. And that's one of the reasons that sex tourism is such a difficult thing to combat, because especially in Thailand, Vietnam, especially in Cambodia,
you saw a lot of that.
They make a lot of money, man. They make a lot of like fat American dudes leave their wives to go sleep with a kid, and the country it adds to the economy of the country. And so when you have a government that is already not making a lot of money, that has a source of income that it's unethical, but people are getting paid off. It's horrible. It's horrifying. And actually being able to see that, something clicked. I was so taken aback. I had a very hard time enjoying my time, obviously there as a traveler, but also just I had a hard time speaking with people that were other travelers there. They're like, yeah, I'm having a great time. I'm like, but what about all this horrible shit that's happening? And they were.
Oh, so you became a moral purist?
Not really. It's
everyone's
just
I'm having a great time. You're like,
I didn't want to ruin their time, but I was
what
just
about the kids, man.
I had a very hard time justifying partying in a place like that. I had a hard time justifying, yeah, sure, go visit the temples, it's a cultural site. Go, I'm there, have fun, but something was off, man.
I get it. You don't want to be all coked up and then you look, there's a 5-year-old next to you yeah, bro, you want some more? I got it in my bag.
Yeah.
What am I doing with my life right now?
Obviously very extreme example, but you don't.
Yeah.
It's obviously that, but it's just something clicked, man. I think after having gone to Cambodia, and this is when people ask me what is my takeaway from having gone on this trip? My takeaway is this: I have returned with a sense of gratitude that I have never ever felt before, and it has not left since I've come back.
You've been humbled, kind of.
Extremely. I've been punched in the face.
Did you actually get punched in the face?
No, metaphorically punched in the face.
A child came up to you and punched you.
Fucking yeah.
You didn't accept my services.
But yeah, it was like metaphorically punched in the face, where I was just like wake up call a la Max. It's just like, I am a sheltered, white, relatively privileged Canadian boy. Like,
King Gizzard.
Who am I to complain about many things? Like, I need to use my position in a way that helps others, because so many people are and like my buddy Jared was saying this, like, we won the birth lottery. Like, there's a lot about our position in life that we were in the top 1 or 2% easy in the world, and being in a place where, you know, the only way to feed your kids is to have your kids working as a prostitute or to be dealing in the black market. Like, that's not just Cambodia. That is many, many, many places in the world. And I came back with this feeling of just like, just pure gratitude. And like, I don't want to let this feeling go away. I want to do something about it. So I guess that was my sort of negative story, in that, like, yeah, saw a part of the world or saw some things happening, like really crazy reality check. But yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, when you're traveling around backpacking, it's not like you're, I was there just like moping the whole time and all that stuff. Like, I've been to many places, spoke to many locals, learned a lot, but also I also did the fun stuff too. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like that was the purpose of my trip.
How many, I don't know, cause you can't really judge, but do you think it was like that before COVID, or just like,
to an extent? Yeah. For sure.
But
I think
COVID
became,
like more, they got to catch up for the last 2 years.
COVID made it a necessity, because, and the reason I talked about the government before is because the government is really at fault. Like, yeah, the government doesn't have a lot of money coming in for sure.
Is it still the same government that genocided the same people?
No. So a different government took hold after that, but I believe it's the same government that took over after the Khmer Rouge.
What do you mean?
Khmer Rouge event. So Vietnamese came in, basically defeated the Khmer Rouge. And
Khmer Rouge are the
bad guys,
the genociders,
yeah,
or whatever.
The bad guys.
And so Ho Chi Minh's like, I'm not having this shit.
I don't know if it was Ho Chi Minh. Maybe if he was around.
So Cambodia is kind of like a Vietnam government, almost like a
not
puppet government.
Really, not really. I don't look. I'm not gonna speak truth or try to not speak on something I don't know too much about. I'm not really sure the extent of the relationship. I believe they're independent, but I'm not sure. I'm sure there are some deals with Vietnam where they're like very indebted to them for many reasons. But
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm happy you told me that. I learned something new.
Yeah, man, look it up. There's this book called First They Killed My Father. It's the one that people recommend to people that want to learn about it. It's a memoir about this girl who was 9 years old when the genocide started. It's about how her family basically had to flee Phnom Penh, and it's just like horrifying stuff, but really good book, really educational book. And yeah, this just read about it, basically learn about it. Like, the fact that we never learned about it, even for one class, is a failure of the education system. This happened so recently. Like, tell me, like, inform people, tell people. Just because it didn't happen in our own backyard doesn't mean it's not worth learning about.
Yeah.
Learning from the horrible mistakes of others.
Well, I mean, we're still making those same mistakes today. I mean, governments are always like trying to like manipulate other countries. You know what I mean? Like, different countries are always, like TikTok, for example, like China's still kind of trying to manipulate everyone through getting us addicted into TikTok. And then while their, you know, society's like,
you know, about
everyone wants to be famous here, over there they're like studying to be engineers and like, you know
about China TikTok, right?
Yeah, it's all propaganda.
It's all propaganda and educational material.
Yeah, exactly. So we get the garbage, and they get all the good stuff.
Yeah.
So, and they have a bunch of patriotic people. But it's funny too, because I know after the Nancy Pelosi visit in Taiwan. Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't say that because of my sponsor. But
you're gonna bleep it out again.
Yeah. But people in China were so pissed that China didn't do anything. They're like slapping themselves on TikTok. They're like beating themselves, crying because they're like, "You let us down." Like,
I never knew that.
Yeah. It's pretty. It's hilarious, but at the same time, it's like almost like fucked up too, because these people are so like into their government, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that was another thing that I missed while I was away, is the Nancy Pelosi time. I know it happened.
You were there, which was crazy.
I was in the border of China for a while.
Yeah.
In the north of Vietnam. Yeah. So
I was in Hawaii and I was like, fuck, I hope they don't do a Pearl Harbor again, But
you think they're going to target Hawaii first? You think that's
it's like
that's
Pearl
the one?
Harbor, like they got attacked by Asia, similar kind of vibe.
Have like a big map in front of them. They're like, all right, where are we going to attack first? And be like, wait, what's that
Pearl
over
Harbor,
on the side?
Part 2.
Like,
yeah.
Is that an island?
Let's roll it
they
back.
Own that? Yeah.
Oh man,
Crazy.
but that's sad. That's
heavy,
sad.
yeah.
That's sad that it has to be that. I know. I was making jokes, but I wasn't like making jokes about the actual situation.
No, I mean, of course not.
But it's actually heavy stuff. And,
it's heavy. It's heavy, and there's like plenty of that throughout Southeast Asia.
Because imagine like you were just born as like in that position. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's just like like there's always that like notion of like just pull your bootstraps up and like you could be successful, but like. Not really. In that society, it's difficult, How do you have the access to any opportunities?
You have to get bootstraps first.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So
you can find them off a tourist.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It's I mean, we'll see how
you send your little monkey to steal it. And
yeah.
Then you're like, all right.
Yeah. I mean,
that's step 1. What's step 2?
We'll see what happens there. I don't have much hope. I think
you don't have much hope
that things are gonna get. I mean, maybe money will come in again, but I don't have much hope for a lot of these like macro problems actually getting solved, because
what I think is going to happen is eventually like, what China's doing is they're giving money to a lot of countries like Africa, like poor countries, and they're building stuff and, kind of creating opportunities, but they're holding those countries hostage to them economically.
Yeah.
So that might happen, but not by China, maybe like by Saudi Arabia. I don't know, but Cambodia seems more like a China thing. I feel like rich investors are going to, maybe do that type of stuff.
So it's already happening.
Exactly.
Cambodia's got some of the most beautiful beaches in the world, and not many people go. So
yeah, you told me that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? Let's
just talk about it. I mean, that's
it.
all you can do. Donate to the Red Cross.
So tell me about the happiest thing.
Okay.
This is a happy show. We don't talk about.
It's a happy show. All right.
I'm just kidding.
Massive shift. I guess I'll give a bit of context. When I started my trip, I had a list of ideas of what I wanted to do, and I ended up changing the majority of it because, and I will stick by this now forever, the best way to plan a trip is to go somewhere and then to listen to the people that are at your hostel and ask them what their favorite parts of their trip were and do those things, because they know what they're talking about. They will be able to tell you things that are like off the beaten path. And one thing that I kept hearing over and over and over again was this thing called the Hajong Loop. Over and over again, the Hajong Loop, do the Hajong Loop. And I was like, what is it? And they're like, oh, it's like a 4-day motorcycle trek through the north of Vietnam. And I was just like, I can't even drive a motorcycle. No thanks. And I heard it so much that I was like, okay, maybe in my 2 months that I have left, I can learn how to drive a motorbike and learn how to do it well enough to even attempt doing something like that. So I started off in this beautiful city called Pai in the north of Thailand, which is very, very small, not a lot of people. So it was the perfect place to learn how to use a motorbike. Rented a motorbike, drove it around there. Everybody motorbikes.
Motorbike or like...
It's a motorcycle, but sort of stripped down. It's more like a scooter, but it's a bike.
Is it kind of like a, not a dune buggy, but like, those ones that like they're sports?
Yeah, kind of.
Dirt
like
bike.
semi-auto. Yeah, sort of. No, it's more like a semi-automatic motorcycle on a bit of a smaller scale. Like it's not a Harley, but it's a motorcycle.
It's not like a Ducati either.
No.
Okay.
But everybody in Southeast Asia drives motorbikes. Like everybody. Mm-hmm. It's the way to get around. There are no traffic laws. That's a whole other thing. But
so they didn't ask you for anything like a license or...
They got my passport.
They got your passport?
They got my passport.
They held your passport?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't happy about it, but there was no other option, and they were reputable.
They
like
had
they're
like
the
some
people.
Reviews on you.
Yeah, they're the people the hostel recommended. So I was like, okay, they're probably fine. So yeah, basically learned how to drive it there, and then I was like, okay, I need at least 2 more cities to like really work up my expertise at this, because I'm not about to do a 4-day motorbike thing and die. Like, not planning on
by
it.
yourself or with your friend?
It was with a group. It was with a group of people. And so I drove it again in Hoi An in Vietnam. I drove it again in Battambang in Cambodia, and I was like, I'm ready. So went up to the north. There's this hostel there called the Jasmine Hostel. First of all, this city of Hajong in Vietnam, there's basically one thing to do there, and it's that drive. You could do it in 3 days or 4 days. I did the 4-day one, and it's this drive basically starting at the northern tip of Vietnam and then making your way to where the border of China is and the very northern tip and then basically working your way back down.
Wow.
And
that's fucking long, man. 4 days?
4 days. So like
Crazy.
100 kilometers a day-ish.
Wow.
And
there's like gas stations and stuff like you'd stop to fill in?
Yeah. So the good thing about doing it with a group, first of all, because I was solo traveling at this point, I needed somebody to be looking out for me. Like, I'm not about to do this alone because I can die. I can get hit by a truck. Very like thin roads winding around mountains. Like,
oh my God, that happened to my friend. He was like on a motorcycle and then like he fucked his whole arm
Jesus.
up.
Well, I got into an accident. That's a whole
Really?
other story. Yeah.
On a motorbike?
On a motorbike. Yeah. So I'll set the scene. Then I'll tell you about that.
Okay, sure.
And then, yeah, basically the good thing about doing it with a group is they organize everything. There's a flat payment. You go there and then they give you the bike. They give you places to stay, all the food, all the gas included as well. So basically you just follow someone. And listen, I'm a man that's prone to exaggerate. This is not an exaggeration. It is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Like the landscapes there are literally otherworldly. If you would have showed me a picture of them like in their like grand scale, I would have thought that it was not real, that it was CG. There's no really great way to describe it. These mountains can be very tall, but they're very thin. So it's like almost like a super vertical looking kind of bump.
Like a
Yeah, and there's like many of them in a row. And
does it look like the microphone kind of?
Yeah, almost like this microphone.
Okay.
But the clouds are very low, and they're like always rolling through the sort of tops of these mountains. And sometimes you'll get rain, like it's just beautiful. It's like seeing a rain cloud coming through, and
like this big mountain penetrating through
the whole 4 or 5 days was driving on a motorbike and having the wind in your hair. First of all, driving a motorbike is a lot of fun. It's really great. I totally understand why people like driving motorcycles now because it's great. It feels awesome.
Even in Quebec, would you do it?
No,
exactly.
The weather here is not good enough, and also I
roads.
don't want to. Yeah, it's not. If I had a reason to do it, I would do it. But yeah, man, just like absolutely.
Were you
stunning.
wearing a helmet?
Yeah, of course I was wearing a helmet. Some people wore knee pads and elbow pads. I didn't do that. I should have.
Was
because
anyone not wearing a helmet, or do you have to?
Everyone's wearing a helmet. It's like you're playing with your life.
Yeah.
You got to wear a helmet. Like the guide at one point wasn't, but you think you left it somewhere.
Oh, there's a guide.
There were a few guides, yeah.
So you were doing this with a guide. You weren't
So
just
the hostel does a tour every day where you go out with a guide and they tell you, like they'll bring you around, like,
and is it
stop
like
at the major
British
spots.
Guy or something, or
nope,
it's like
it's a local. It's a local.
Okay.
And yeah, man, it was amazing. Honestly, one of the best things I've ever done.
Wow.
I'd recommend it to anybody that's going to Vietnam.
What's it called?
The Ha Giang Loop. Giang.
The Ha Giang Loop.
Yeah, it's amazing. And yeah, one of the best things I ever did. And it was just like these moments. You know that painting, The Wanderer? That's like this guy with a coat just overlooking, like you see his back, and then it's overlooking this landscape where it's like lots of clouds, and you just see like the mountaintops, and it's like you would.
Is it like the Nietzsche one?
Maybe. They use it a lot for things.
Pull it up.
I don't have my phone on.
God damn it.
Yeah. You've probably seen it.
Maybe.
Anyway, when I learned about that, I had like an art class when I was in Sejep. When I learned about that, it was the word that was used a lot is sublime. It's this feeling of beauty and like surreal pleasure and horror at the same time, where you're seeing something so beautiful that it's almost scary, that you have like a bit of an existential crisis because you see this, you feel small, and you see this like massive, beautiful thing. And often, personally, I get that when I'm looking at like landscapes. And this was just that feeling for 4 days of just feeling small and like,
I feel you,
in the face of something powerful and great.
I know what you mean. When I was in Joshua Tree, like driving just through the desert and seeing all the mountains and the rock formations, like you just feel it. Yeah,
it's something, man. There's like this energy that like you just tap into. It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I heard Vietnam is one of the most beautiful places in the world.
The north of Vietnam.
Did you get a new tattoo? I've seen
this is an older one. Yeah.
It's like every time I see you, you have like a tattoo. I haven't seen.
I got this one. This is a pufferfish.
You got that from Vietnam?
No, I got it before. My girlfriend drew it.
Wow. She made it?
Yeah, she drew it. She didn't like punch it into me, but
did another tattoo person do that?
Yeah. Well, she doesn't do tattoos, so like she drew it and then we just gave it to somebody.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Just
Isn't your girlfriend like a musician?
She is a musician. It's called Flowerface. Look up at Flowerface on Instagram.
At Flowerface. They're CCP friendly, right?
I don't think she has any songs knocking the Chinese government.
Okay, then in that case,
yeah, hey, check it out
today. Yeah. No, but it's crazy because like I know we're talking about traveling and stuff, but I haven't seen you in almost like 6 months or something.
It's been a while. It's been a long time.
Yeah. I think the last time you came over, we were playing music. Evan, for people who don't know, your name is Evan. You're gonna see it on the podcast, obviously. We didn't even do like a proper introduction, but
it's okay.
No, but like we used to be in a band together, and like we played shows in Montreal.
We go way back.
Back. So yeah, man. So like, tell me. I don't know. Just refresh me. So you guys have been in a relationship for almost a year now or something?
Yeah. We're our anniversary's in November, and things are great. She's
Do you ever like do concerts or?
Here's the thing.
Do you play bass for her
band? Here's the thing. First of all, I'm sort of out of practice with music. I think obviously been away from it for 3 months, but also it's just. It's been a while. I've been very busy with just life stuff, and I find for me at least, music has always been a bit of a comforting thing, and I do want to get back into it. But unless I have a guitar right next to me, it's unfortunately it's not usually my first priority. So it's been a while, and she's extremely, extremely talented, and so it's a little intimidating, to be honest, man. Like I would love to
She
jam.
Just like this squid with like a bunch of tentacles, like, playing all these fucking instruments. You're like, how do you do all that?
That is not how I'd describe it, but sure.
I'm scared right
now. No, but she's unbelievably talented, and she works with very, very talented people as well. So, for me to be like, playing, some my old like Sage Up age stuff, it's still good. It still holds up for sure. But get a little intimidated for sure.
Well, listen, just play some Made Man stuff, and then she'll stop.
I'll just play my bass line from what's Late Circus. To Light, just over.
Oh
and over
yeah.
It's like, wait, there's a beat that's missing.
Oh my god! Speaking of music, I went to see Christopher from Sopranos. The guy Michael Pirioli, I think is his name. I went to see his band. You know Christopher, right?
Yeah.
He's like the sidekick to Tony Soprano.
Yes.
He's like the guy who's like, kind of looks like a rat. He has like a big nose, and
You're talking about the Sopranos.
The Sopranos, yes.
Yeah, you can't just be like the guy with the big nose.
What do you mean? Because they're Italian, they all have big noses.
Anyway.
I guess. I mean, I have a big nose, so I could say anyone who has a big nose.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm Jewish. I guess I have.
You don't have a Jewish nose.
I don't. No, I got my mom's nose.
It's true. Anyway, so I'm like, I text my friend who's like really into the Sopranos, and like, I'm like, fuck yeah, like this guy's playing the band. We had never listened to his music at all, and it was such a weird scene. There's like a bunch of like,
what was the crowd like? Like
artsy, like liberal, like / trans people, and then you had a bunch of like movie buffs that were like, yeah, the Sopranos are like, it's like a good show, like, and then you had like actual like middle-aged Italians. So like mesh all those people together. It's like, what the fuck? Where the hell? What? Dude,
I wish I could have been there. That's insane.
Yeah. You just have like someone from like fucking Euphoria, like having a drink next to this big fat Italian guy. Like, hey, my name's Paulie.
In a stained wife beater.
Oh no, not a wife beater, but more like oversized bowling shirt.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like wow. That was the scene, and like. I don't know. It was funny because like I saw him on the show all the time, like being himself. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But now he's like singing songs, like rock songs, and it was just weird. It was weird.
It sounds weird. It sounds Lynchian almost.
It was. Yeah. It was funny because like at one point he was like, a friend of mine wrote this song from New York. You're going to know what it is by the end of the song. And like,
did nobody know what it was?
Yeah. He plays the song and like, I'm like, all right. Like, and then like, he's like, I'm sure you know who that song's by now. And then someone in the crowd just like, Tony Soprano. I was like,
gotta heckle the guy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
It was good. It was a weird crowd though.
That sounds strange, bro.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about just going to a show and looking at the people there instead of like the actual show, just seeing like who came out for this.
Oh my god! So I was like, I was in awe. Yeah. I was just like, what the fuck? Like you got the biggest mix of like a group. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's strange. I feel like you're just plucking random people from the street and just being like, come on.
Yeah, you got a mafioso right
Come
next
watch
to
the...
And at the one point, there's like an old man. He was like looked like, you know, he's like probably 5 feet tall, okay? And he's bald, had like white side hair. He looked like Junior from Sopranos, but like way older. Anyways, so this guy has like this giant size phone, and every time, like, I think like every 10 minutes, he's like in the back. He'll come like in between the crowd. Everyone has to kind of like, it's like he's splitting the Nile, like the Red River or whatever, you know? And everyone's like letting this old man through. Brings his huge phone up, and then he's just like trying to zoom in and film with like his iPad size phone.
I love the people that bring iPads to concerts. You're like,
oh my god.
Something that I've seen recently trending. I've seen this in many shows. Is people are bringing like Nintendo DSs and like filming on the DS camera. They're doing it as a joke. I'd like to think.
Oh
but
my god.
Crazy. Yeah.
That's a good camera to bring.
This tiny one. Yeah.
DG. It's called
this camera.
Pocket. This camera that is being filmed on.
Nice.
But you know what else you could bring to a show? You could bring Stream Studio.
I knew you were going to do that.
You can podcast while you're at a show, and potentially even get the band to do a live podcast with you at the show. And I mean, no one's ever thought of that. I'm giving you this idea so you could go ahead, make millions off of it. I expect 5% royalty, obviously, but this is what is going on, okay, with Stream Studio. You have the capabilities to do this on your iPhone. There's an app. You can go and get the Stream Studio app. You can go online, just on your internet browser, and open up Stream.studio. And when you do Stream.studio, you look up, you just put in your email, you get a code, bada bing, bada boom. You can start your own podcast today. So go ahead, do that. And if you don't, then, you know, you're missing out, because I swear, you know, when people like do that with their voice,
I swear,
as if like it's like
this guy's telling the
fake
truth.
Yeah, exactly. Someone trying to be like emotional, like fuck, I forgot. Like, it's like, I promise you, it's like really good. Anyways, Stream Studio is actually good, and I'm not fucking around right now. So go ahead and use it today. But yeah, okay. Is there anything else that you think that you like? I mean, we're still going, but I mean,
still going.
I'm like thinking about like Vietnam stuff, Hong Kong. Like you went to like all these different countries, and
yeah, many countries.
What else like do you think is like crazy that you gotta share?
Crazy story. I could tell you I got scammed on my first day in Bangkok. That's a fun story.
Oh yeah, right. What happened? Was it Hustlers University?
So essentially, just pro tip for anyone who ever travels: look up scams in the area, especially when you're going to a place like Southeast Asia or even South America. I know you had our buddy Noah come on and talk a bit about that.
Yes.
Look up scams. They're everywhere. Most of the time they involve taxis, but you know sometimes they don't. Bangkok, there's a very famous one. It's called the tuk-tuk scam.
Tuk-tuk.
A tuk-tuk basically is...
Tuk-tuk.
It's awesome. I think it might be my favorite mode of transportation. It is imagine like a tiny little cart where like the front half of a motorcycle and the back half is like this 3 or 4 seats where you just like sit down and then the guy just let it drives you where do you need to go.
Oh, that's cool.
It's so efficient, man. So easy way to get around. Such an easy way to get around. But it was my first day in Bangkok, and I was jet lagged, and I woke up and was just like, I'm going to go walk around. So I was just walking around, and I had to go to an ATM, and I pulled some money out. And this friendly Thai guy walks up to me, and he's just like, hello. And I'm like, hey, guy. And he said, hey, where are you from? And so I'm like, I don't want to be in this conversation, but...
Was
like,
he pushy?
It's not really. He was like, yeah, but... seems very endearing. Yeah. And he was like, where are you from? And I'm like, oh, I'm from Canada. One of the nicest things about being Canadian is telling people you're Canadian. Yeah. And I've come to realize that traveling, like being like, I'm American. I'm sure it's a lot less. Like when you say I'm Canadian, you could see people be like, oh, good. Like you can see people
this
just
guy's
like
an easy catch.
Calm down a little bit. Yeah.
I'm gonna
but I was like, oh, I'm from Canada. And this is where I messed up. He goes, how long have you been away from Canada? And I said, this is my first day. And when you say that, and I didn't really think about this at the time, it means that you're telling the guy, I don't know where I am. I don't know how your currency works. I have no idea what the hell is going on. So they could tell you anything and you'll believe it. And sure enough, they told me anything. I didn't believe it.
What did he tell you?
So dude basically pitched me this. He pulled out a map. He's like, all right, cool. You're going to get my friend over there's tuk-tuk. He just points some guys like waves. And I'm going to take you to this temple, this amazing store, this temple, and then a boat tour. And I'll do it for 10 baht. 10 baht, for context, is maybe 3 cents. Like, basically nothing. And you see, I, at the time, did not really have the mindset of, well, if it's that cheap, it's probably a scam. I was just like, wow, that's cheap. Cool. Bangkok is awesome. And so I was just like, no, I don't really want to. And the guy, like, grabbed me. He's like, oh, come on. Like, I'll get you back here at your hostel for, like, 1 p.m. I was like, all right, it's noon. What do I have to lose? It's 10 baht. I'll just be smart. So I lost. I lost that day. So what happened was, dude immediately starts driving. And I realized, like, shit, this guy could take me anywhere. I have no idea where I'm going. And he drops me off at this temple, which had paid admission, which is not normal for a religious Buddhist temple. And I go in. It's completely empty. But it's my first day in Thailand. It was a Thai temple. I'm like, cool. Like, nice. In retrospect.
Is that when you're like, this temple is all to myself?
Yeah. Yeah, basically. I mean, I realized I was alone very fast. And I was like, this is weird. Like, this is a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
There are tourists here. Why am I alone? I was walking around. I got pictures and, some old man sees me and walks up to me, old Thai guy. And he goes, in amazing English, just goes, hello, my friend. Welcome to one of the most beautiful temples in my country. I am a Buddhist. And just like starts talking about, it's like, and Buddhism means this to me.
He's like an NPC.
That's exactly the vibe it was, bro.
Yeah.
I felt like me walking in like triggered an animation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, he kept going and he was just like, hey, where you from? I'm like, from Canada. And I'm just like, actually, I was. And at the time, I thought it was a genuine conversation.
You're like looking at the things you're gonna say. Your option menu.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like I've learned a bit about Buddhism. Like, awesome. We talked a bit about it. It seemed very authentic. And he's like, so where's your driver taking you? I'm like, some temples, some suit store. And the guy's eyes lit up and he was just like, oh, he's taking you to the suit store. And I was just like, yeah, he's taking me to a suit store. And he goes, that's my favorite store. My wife and I were there just yesterday, and she bought me 3 unique custom-made suits for such a low price. They're one of the best exporters in all of Thailand. They export to Armani and to Tom Ford. And he just kept going and going. And I was just like, holy shit, he's part of the scam. This man's job is to
but you didn't know it was a scam.
I didn't know until now. Well, I knew it was a scam. Like, I knew there's no, like, they're making money out of me somehow. Like, there's no way I can be paying this guy 10. Like, it doesn't even cover gas. Like, I knew there was something. I figured.
So this guy, okay, yeah.
I figured what it was is they had a deal with the store where they just drop me off at the store and then they get their money for whatever the gas and whatever. And then I could just sort of go from there. But it, like, extended far beyond that. Like, people I met on the streets were part of the scam. Like, basically anyone I met that day that had fluent English was like part of this like thing, like this web. And so at this point I'm fascinated by what's going on.
But you paid like 10 cents, so why do you give a shit if it's a scam?
I think he's also getting paid from the store. So I didn't care. At this point,
is that a scam though?
It is, but it's
you're
not.
not forced to buy it.
I'm not forced into doing anything illegal. I'm not forced into buying anything or doing any of this stuff.
Okay.
Sort of. I am basically being very deliberately misdirected and lied to in order to make money.
So this Buddhist temple was there just to like advertise.
I think it was probably a real temple that is making a bit of money from tourists, because they had an entry fee, right? So
and the government's like, listen, they're bringing money to the economy, like
or the government doesn't know. Like it wasn't a massive scale thing, but
okay.
Anyway, I leave this old guy, and I'm just like, that was weird. I felt like I was talking to a real person, and then I felt like he was reading from a script at a certain point. But anyway, my next stop was the suit store, and those stores like. She'd
been like, "Why are you talking like that?"
He would have just like not known the English sentence to say. He would have just been like, But those stores like downtown.
Or like, how many times a day do you do this?
Probably. Yeah, I should have said something. I think I realized more afterwards.
Because I feel like I would have been listening to this guy and I'd be just like smiling like, dude, like, just stop, okay?
Dude,
like,
I think I was just still infatuated with this guy based on the beginning of our conversation.
Yeah, you're like looking at this guy in real time. You're like, what? You're like thinking to yourself like, What the fuck?
I was just, I think I was literally just like, this man and I had a heart to heart like 2 seconds ago. Like, I'm not going to be like, ruin him. I'm like,
He
whatever.
got you. Yeah.
He got me. But I still didn't want to buy a suit on the first day of my trip for 3 months. Like, not going to do that. So,
come on, you got to be fucking.
Dude brings me to the legendary.
Spruced up when you're there.
Yeah, well, I actually did buy a suit in Vietnam, but
from the same guy?
No, different, like actual tailor, like not a scam. But, my next stop was this mythological suit store, and you know those stores like downtown Montreal that like you don't really see the name. It's just liquidation and like yellow signs with like bold like 70% off. Like that's like the kind of store it was, like in terms of everything, like in terms of signage, but also in terms of like layout.
Was it in like a city area or like in the middle of nowhere?
It was like not in the middle of nowhere. It was like a side street from the main area that we were. It wasn't that sketch.
Okay, yeah.
But the dude basically said, hey, here's the store. And I was like, I don't want to go in. And he just goes, you're going in.
He said you're going in.
And I was just like, I don't want to buy anything. He goes, you're going in. And then he just like went on his phone. And I was like, okay. So I'm just like, I guess I have nothing to lose. I'm going to walk in. I walk in and I'm swarmed with Indian men. Like one guy I don't know, actually. And then one guy like starts measuring me. Like I just walked in and another guy like hands me a glass of warm water. I'm just like, what are you? And like some guy sits me on a couch. Sit down. Sit down. And I'm just like, hey, I'm just here to look. And they just did not understand what I was saying. So I just like stood up and they're like, and I was like, where the fuck are you going? I was just like walking around. I'm like, how long do I have to be in here before the guy just takes me to the next place? And I was just, all right, whatever. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, all right, how do I make the most of this? I'm just going to mess with them. So I walked up to a guy that was working there. He's like, hello, sir, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, hey, man, what's your store called? And I pulled up my phone. And the guy gets visibly nervous. And he goes, Gentleman's Suit Store. And I'm like, all right, cool. Gentleman's Suit Store, Bangkok. Something pops up. There's 2 reviews on Google Reviews, and they're both 1-star reviews. And I'm like, do you have a website? He's just like, website is under maintenance. I'm like, yeah, your website's under maintenance. Sure. I'm going to leave. Nice meeting you. And I turn around and the guy like grabs my shoulder, like fingers like in my shoulder.
The same guy.
It hurts. Like... The same guy. He spins me around and I'm like, I'm going to die in here. Like at this point, like this guy is violent.
Buy your fucking suits.
And he hands me this like pamphlet, this like booklet. And he goes, just take a look at what we have to offer you. And I opened to the first page, and it is a stock photo of John Cena wearing a suit that still has like the stock photo watermark on it. And I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me. Like you probably just looked up suit on Google Images and like drag and drop it was horrible, man. It was horrible. God. And I'm like, this is hilarious. So anyway, I left.
Were you like, fuck? Like, what did, like, you just opened a page and he's, like, watching you, like, what happened?
Yeah, over my shoulder, like, breathing down.
Okay, so what happened?
I was literally just like, thanks, bye, and then I speed walked out of there. The guy was, like, trying to get my attention still.
But weren't you, like, still in his car, or was that the last
So I had to get into, so I still had more stops. And at this point, I'm just like, look, I went in, and he was just like, all right, we'll take you to the boat tour. And I'm like, okay, guess we're going to a boat tour. And he said, thank God he fucking said this. He was like, you know, this is the ones the locals take, which right off the bat is like, no local is taking a boat tour of their own city. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah. He's like, this is one the locals take. You know, normally this tour is 400,000 baht, which is like $78. Or no, it was $150. And he's like, but for you, we'll do 200 baht, which was like $78. And I was like, what? That doesn't sound right. But because I didn't know Bangkok or anything, I was like, all right, like whatever. So while he's driving, I'm just like, I don't want to go on this boat tour. I'm not going to go on this boat tour. But just for my own curiosity, how much is a tour with a different company of this lake? $2 instead of $78.
Oh my God.
And I was like, yeah, like this guy is just trying to play off of my like stupidity and my.
It's $2 to go on a boat tour.
Normally, yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's Thailand. It's very cheap. And so basically, the guy gets out and he's just like, oh, yeah, it's a boat tour. You could go that way. And I'm just like, I don't want to go. He was like, what? I'm like, I don't want to go. I'll pay you what I owe you. Take me back to my hostel right now. Like, I need you to take me back. And this guy went from like a sort of aloof, kind of happy, go lucky guy to terrifying in like half a second. He like, his posture suddenly got really big and like he started just like staring at me while he was driving me back just for long periods of time. And I suddenly I was just like, I feel unsafe right now. Like it wasn't like this before, but this guy,
was he a little guy though?
He was like medium size, like tall for a Thai guy.
You could like smack him maybe and like.
I want to fight anyone at this point. I was just like, well, all right.
Just like you're a big tall.
Yeah. I don't think he would have like messed with me, but I was like, he could take me anywhere. And luckily, dropped me off the hostel. I'm like 10 baht, run in. And the first thing that the lady at the hostel says, she goes, "Did you fall for it?" I was just like, yeah. She's like, yeah, you're the 5th one today.
Oh my God.
And apparently they get so many tourists. And turns out I ended up walking completely accidentally by this suit store again. And there were like 5 tuk-tuks parked at the front with like, there was a white guy that was like trying a suit on. I'm like, they fell for it. It must work, like on some very gullible people. It must work.
Because if you think about it, though, like those suits are not that expensive, probably, like relative to like what they are here.
Dude, they're like the worst quality. Like, like the guy's like, feel this. I'm just.
But like, maybe that, like, you know, like there's a bunch of like young dumb tourists that are going like, oh, this will be my first suit, you know, like.
I don't know. It's extremely cheap quality and. They're probably good at it.
And you were alone too. I was alone. Yeah.
So I was definitely like from there on out, like very safe about the scams.
That's what sucks. Like if you're traveling, you don't feel like you're in charge of your own. Like you have to let yourself like be taken control of by the country or whatever, because you don't know like what the hell is going on. But if you go to like America, like if you Hawaii, whatever, you feel like you're almost still in North America, because like, you could rent a car, you can go here, you can go there. You don't have to like, you're still kind of in charge of your own domain.
Yeah.
But there it's like you have to give up a little bit of yourself just to have a good experience.
So you could rent a car, obviously, or rent a motorbike when you're there.
Yeah, no. But like, I just mean like the customs there, and like
for sure
they're a little more clear. It's not like, oh, this is a fucking different language. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. I think also one of the reasons there's so many taxi scams is because, like you said, it's a situation in which you are putting control in the hands of somebody that you don't know, in a part of a culture you don't know and stuff, and it's very easy to just tell people like, you owe me this much money, or to like rig the meter, or because they're travelers, man. Like, you could say anything to most people,
and they're like experienced too. These guys, like they've it's every day, like a million, like 10,
they know what they're
people they're doing a day. Yeah,
they know what they're doing,
and they probably know every scenario to like get you. You know what I mean? Even if you're slipping away. Like that guy probably is like, listen, if I start intimidating him, then he's gonna fall for my, he's probably had to go through that.
Yeah, probably. But fascinating stuff for sure.
Any other experiences like that where you felt like that?
I could tell you about one. I mean, I hesitate to call this a scam, but this was just interesting. I was in Hanoi, and it was the very tail end of my trip, and I was walking around in flip flops, and you know how you have flip flops for like a number of years, like. Kind of just starts falling apart. Like the top part of the flip flop will kind of like separate from the body of it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of happening, and I was walking, and some guy on the ground grabbed the flip flop off of my foot while I was walking, and I stumbled. And before I even knew what was going on, the guy pulled out glue and like started repairing my flip flop, and did it pretty well. Like started sewing things and like repaired it. He was just like, "There you go. That'll be 50,000." I was just like, man, I got 10,000. Like, he was just like, oh, you should have told me. I'm like, you should have not grabbed it off of my foot and then started repairing it. Like, I'm sure this works for you. I gave him the 10,000. Guy just groaned. But I was just like, is that even a scam?
How much is 10,000?
It's not much. It's
$5.
Not even.
How much did you bring to this trip? Like, how much money did you have to bring, like, to prepare, like, to know, like, have a smooth? Because you're staying at hostels, which is fairly cheap. But like, just tell me how much. So
I can't really give. Like I had a card. I had a card. I think about that. It was more expensive than I anticipated.
Okay.
A lot of expenses that I could not have foreseen. Like I had a whole visa situation. I don't think I'd like the time to tell this entire story, but basically had to spend like $400 on a visa because the Vietnamese government decided not to process mine in time, and
you have to get a visa to go to Vietnam?
You have to go to get a visa, not just to go to Vietnam, but if you're passing through Vietnam on a connected flight, you need a visa.
Really?
Yeah. So that's what happened. Like I was passing through Vietnam on a connection, and I didn't have a visa because obviously like I assumed you didn't need one. And
where do you get a visa? Just online?
Online. You get an e-visa. It was 5 days before. They said it would take 3 days. I applied. They never gave it to me. And so I got there, and they were refusing to let me on the plane. And so I was like, what do I do? Because the flight was non-refundable, and obviously booking a flight now would be like twice the price because of timing and all that. So I'm like, what do I do? Anyway, went through some very sketch third-party site that got a visa approved for me in 15 minutes for $400.
Wow.
But it was my only option. It was just like stuff like that happening regularly, where I just like, it's like, oh, I guess I need to spend hundreds of dollars on this thing I could have never predicted before. So it adds up. But yeah.
So what would be like a piece of advice you can give to like someone traveling down there so they're prepared?
Ask other people what to do. Learn about scams. Go have a rainy day fund. You never know when money will be needed to help yourself. And yeah, I mean,
did you do any like psychedelics or anything?
No. Some people do in Pai, in Thailand, and some people do it. It wasn't the place. I think it also, drugs in Southeast Asia the drug scene there is very fascinating.
Okay.
Because it is very, very illegal, but it's very prominent. For example, Laos has the death penalty for possession of marijuana, but they also have one of the most popular drug tourism destinations in the world. So,
but they won't give tourists death penalty, will they?
They're like, probably not.
It's like on paper, like the police.
I'm like, it's just, I think it'd be dumb to be risky about drugs in places, any foreign location, even at home, obviously, but any foreign location, specifically ones that have written laws that are very strict, because it means one of two things. Either you get the death penalty / you get thrown in jail and the media makes fun of you, or you pay an enormous amount of money to the police to not throw you in jail. So both of those are horrible options. Also, you don't know the quality of them. You don't, that kind of thing. So it's not the best idea, and I did not do it, but plenty of people do. If you're traveling there, like plenty of travelers do those things, but it was not for me.
All right, well, thank you for that advice. I'm glad you shared that story.
Glad you listened.
Thank you. Is there anything else that you kind of need to just tell the people before you get off?
I'm looking for a job. Hire me, please.
No, but actually, no. We kind of like didn't go over the marketing. Sorry, I was just deleting shit because like I was scared the podcast is not gonna because my Mac is getting full. But
wait, off the record.
Yeah.
Cut this out. How long have we been speaking for?
I'm not sure. There's no way to determine, but it says 2,309 bars.
Okay, that's fine. No problem.
Okay.
Just curious.
I'm not gonna cut it out. I'm leaving it.
You're leaving it.
Yeah, it's too much to go through. But last but not least, like you're telling me about like your the job before you were doing, like it was like you get attracted to scams, eh? Like a lot of scams.
Yeah. I wouldn't. Scam is the wrong word.
No?
Scam is the wrong word.
Pyramid scheme.
For the sake of anonymity, I'm not going to use their name. I'm going to say I worked for a startup, and there were many good elements of the startup, but it was a very small startup. And
stop moving around your mic. Sorry.
It's okay.
It's not consistent.
Whoa. Yeah. Worked for a startup, and yeah, essentially, it was a bit of a disaster. My time working there, and I think something that I think all people that are.
Oh, Cam died. But it's okay. We got the record.
Yeah,
like
it's still going. Are you gonna put like a technical difficulty slide, or
it's just gonna be like dun, dun, dun. Yeah, it's gonna be like my face or something.
Okay, cool. Yeah, long story short, I recommend to anybody that wants to go into business or become an entrepreneur to work at a bad company. Work at a company where you're guaranteed your pay. Work at a company where they're contractually obligated to give you benefits, but there is really something to be said about learning what not to do. And this was a very small company that was constantly making poor decisions.
By an eccentric guy. I remember you saying he's very eccentric. Very, very eccentric. One of the founders was very, very eccentric. And the other one, lovely guy, but was not
as involved with what was going on as he probably should have been, especially for a CEO of a startup. But yeah, I mean, without going into it too much, I got a lot of experience. I have a marketing background, and I learned a lot about basically every form of marketing because I had to do all of it. I learned how to do SEO and email marketing, mass email marketing, and I learned how to design websites and how to deal with like third-party people like graphic designers.
What do you use to do websites?
We used
Wix.
Initially, the site was built on React and it was coded, and it was stupid because it was a very simple website aside for some pieces of technology, and like Facebook is built on React because of the amount of data they had.
Sure.
Our website was mostly like very typical like Remax looking website. So it was built on React, and then we had to change it over into a new system. But like I've built websites on Wix and on what's the other, WordPress.
Okay.
But yeah, man, like working at a startup that is burning down slowly around you is a very interesting experience because you get to learn a lot about like what decisions led to this, what failures and leadership.
Were you there to the last second?
I bailed, and then very shortly after I bailed, the company completely went under. I believe they're trying
Were
to.
you the engine of the company?
Listen, man, like. It's going to be hard for me in interviews to talk about this company because when I say like, oh, I did this, I designed that, my work is no longer out there. They deleted the website. They deleted a lot of my work. So it's hard for me to talk about
Why is your work not? Oh, because they went under.
Worked on the website, and because they went under. And so I could technically say like, yeah, they went under right after I left. So, I mean, I like to think, it is true. Like they did lose me and then spiraled. So maybe I had something to do with it. I was the backbone.
Yeah, exactly. You're the only thing keeping it glued together.
Maybe, yeah.
What are the top 5 things you think that made it go out? Like, what were the poor decisions, I guess you can say? Like, what were the problems?
It's a good question. I think due to my lack of experience working at a extremely successful corporate company, I can't really tell you for sure, but I could tell you
that just pissed you off, I guess.
The first one I think was a failure of leadership. I think when you have a startup, you need to have the people in charge be very dedicated to their company and really believe in it and be able to inspire the people working with them in a way that gets the best work out of them. Mm-hmm. So initially when I first started working there, in my interview, I was told that within a few months, I'd be able, like driving around a Porsche.
Weren't you like buying shares too of the company?
No, I had no shares of that company.
Okay.
It wouldn't have mattered.
Because you said there's like 3 companies meshed into one or something.
Yeah, that's like a whole other technical thing.
Okay, whatever. But anyways.
Yeah, failure of leadership. Sucks. Leadership is so important. And also if there's someone on your team that is very obviously keeping things back and preventing progress from happening, get rid of them. When things are tied together, when it's like your best friend or when it's your wife's brother or whatever, like it becomes complicated because when they start doing badly at their job, then you've put yourself in a situation where it's like what you keep them and you continue doing badly, or you get rid of them and cause. So
there's a lot of that. Conflict. There's a lot of like not nepotism, but just friends and stuff working. I guess
it's one of the issues of friends starting a business. Is at one point you need to put the business first. And I mean, not in all cases, but
is this number 2 now, or is it still?
I guess it's part of number 1, just leadership.
Okay. That could be a number 2. Number 2, just don't work with friends, or like don't get attached too much.
Another one: reliably pay your employees because they will hate you if you don't. I was not paid for many months on end, sometimes like 6-8 months, and I could have gone.
But were they giving you like big?
Because I was under contract. They had to give it to me. So that's one of the reasons I wasn't panicking as much as I probably could have been, because I knew at some point I would get the money.
But you're getting money like a freelancer gets money. You're getting like
sort of
one payday.
But it was by the hour technically. They should have been paying me every 2 months
or 2 weeks. So you got like days where you just got like a big payday.
It's just because they're like, hey, we don't have the money right now. We're going to pay you later. And I was like, okay. And then they keep putting it back and back and back and back and back. Yeah. And I was just like, hey, I need to pay rent. and buy food. Like I need to survive here. And so I threatened them. My coworker at the time threatened them legally. Like his father he got his dad, who's a lawyer, to draft up a threat to be like, if you don't pay this full amount by this day, like we're coming for you.
Nice.
I wish I should have done probably. But yeah, payment is so important because it establishes that, like, if I'm working for you and you were refusing to pay me for things, like, I have no motivation. I have no motivation to want to work for you anymore. And the only reason I did it is essentially because this trip was coming up, and I wasn't going to quit and then get a job for 2-3 months and then quit again. And then it just didn't make sense. So,
right.
I mean, I have many other things. But yeah, I mean, really the ultimate thing was leadership. Get somebody, or like, for them, they had an amazing board of people that they could have gotten advice from and people they could have spoken to, and they had a cool idea. And I think,
what was the idea in like literally 30 seconds?
Literally 30 seconds.
A minute, a sentence.
Sure. It was using technology to facilitate the home buying and home selling experience so that we can charge you less money. So buying a house, people usually charge you 5%.
Yeah.
Selling a house. Yeah. Buying a house and selling a house, they usually charge you a lot of money. They're basically saying, we're going to charge you 0.5%. And in exchange for that, we're also going to be like offering you tons of technology to make this process easier for us. So
it's almost like a real estate company?
It's basically a real estate company.
Okay.
Another thing, don't lie to your investors. One of the reasons a lot of the investors invested in the company is because they pitched it as a tech company. They pitched it as a real estate tech company in Quebec, where they're like, you're going to be able to, like, we have a super accurate, like, home valuation predicting service. We're able to show you what your neighbors sold your home for, which is not available in Quebec.
It was all bullshit.
Well, yes and no, because that's not what the company was. That was bringing no money to the company. What was bringing small amounts of money to the company was they were operating as a real estate service to their friends and family, basically.
Okay, so, yeah, they were advertising, like, to their shareholders something that was not the main... Sorry, there's fucking kids outside.
Yeah,
their main, I guess, expertise.
They were lying.
Yeah.
They were lying. At first they were exaggerating, but then by the time the company was making zero profit, they started lying in order to cover their tracks. And there was also just allocating resources, like without getting into too much detail, like the two guys, or like one of the guys that was one of the founders of the company was driving around a brand new BMW that was being paid for by company money. And they couldn't pay their employees. So it's being able to attribute resources properly as well. And that's one of the big struggles in startups, from what I've seen, is when you go through your first round of money, you're given money. It's knowing where to put it that matters. And also not getting greedy. You know, a lot of people, when they're just suddenly given, like, here's $500,000, like, go use this to grow your company, like, they'll be like, yeah, I could, if I took like 20-30K out of that, like, what are they going to do? Like, they can use the rest, and a lot of the time it doesn't work. So yeah, I mean, tons and tons of stuff. And then tons of like practical marketing stuff too, like learning how to do all this on my own. So it was definitely a overall like good experience, but it was, I'd like to use my talents towards and like see what it's like at a business that works and a business that uses what I've done to actually grow and not takes it and then doesn't know what to do with it and that kind of thing. So yeah.
Well, hopefully, man, you don't fall into this pattern of scams.
Yeah, man, that's my goal.
So what's next for Evan? Just get a job, kind of, and then get back to
get a career. I've a few writing projects I want to get back to. Just really enjoy Montreal and you know, take it one day at a time and hang out with good people and give lots of hugs and, you know, try and enjoy my life.
Awesome. You know, I love when I meet a half Jewish person from Dawson. You know, it's always the biggest pleasure in my life. You, Noah,
you guys are thousands of people.
You guys are very similar too. It's like, it's funny, you know, like,
yeah, we gotta hang out us three.
Writers.
We gotta make it happen.
We've never have, but I've always heard you guys do the craziest shit together.
Not the crazy. We mostly just drink wine and eat.
Yeah.
And talk for 7 hours. Yeah.
Well, that's what. Yeah, any person needs that talks to Noah. That's what they 7 hour conversation.
Exactly.
But anyways, man, thanks for coming on the podcast. I don't know if you want to plug any socials or you're not that guy, pal.
I'm gonna plug Flowerface. Check out Flowerface music on Spotify.
Yeah.
I have nothing of my own to plug at the moment, but happily plug my girlfriend.
Awesome, cool. Maybe
Thank you for having me.
Come down here and jam one time.
Absolutely. I'll extend the invite.
Awesome, cool. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time on the Cheyenne Show.
Thank you very much.